Good day and welcome to another Working for You program. I am Lesroy Williams. Thank you very much for joining us for our program today. As usual, your company is appreciated from week to week. So we want to thank you for being with us. We continue to bring you information that is pertinent to what is happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Today we are going to be dealing with a very timely topic, that of bullying and violence in our schools. It is not just present here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but it is something that many schools have to be dealing with worldwide, with young people, with school children. And so today we will be having a discussion on that. When I was growing up and going to school, we used to make fun of each other. Because of course, you know, children, young people, they make jokes, you know, in jest and all of that. But sometimes it is going too far. How far? We are going to have that discussion today. I want to ask my panelists, my guests, to introduce themselves, and I will start with Ms. Watley.
Hi, I'm Ms. Watley, Tracy Watley. I am a school counselor attached to the Keon High School. I've been a school counselor for the past 10 years. I am a trained mental health professional in counseling, and I'm also an advocate for mental health of a child and young people.
Thank you, Tracy. I now ask our student from the Verchilds High School to introduce herself.
Good day, my name is Glenica Richardson Govaya. I am a student of the Verchilds High School, a former student of the T. William Primary School in Old Road. I am in Form 5. And yeah.
Okay. Right. So the UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, has set aside the first Thursday of November, which is marked as the International Day Against Violence and Bullying at School, including cyberbullying. And they recognize that bullying in schools and cyberbullying is an infringement of children's and adolescents' right to education and to health and well-being. Let's begin with you, Trista. How would you define bullying?
For me, bullying is intentional behavior that is used over repeated a number of times that is set to harm and embarrass somebody. As simple as that, we are going to put it.
Right. And today what we are seeing is that we not only have bullying, but with the advent of the internet and the rise in the use of social media, those are used for it as well, and they call that cyberbullying.
Yes, there are different types of bullying. The traditional one that we would normally look at is that in terms of physical bullying, where, you know, it has things that we can see, the hitting, the pushing, the shoving, but over time we have seen that it goes beyond the physical aspect of things, and there is social bullying, there is peer bullying, there is now, as you say, with the internet and social media and technology, we have now got cyber bullying, which for me is one of the most harmful type of bullying there is, because it can sometimes go unseen and unrecognized for a very long time, and the effects of it also are not things that we can just see with our naked eyes. So we tend not to believe children or persons being cyber bullied when they come and report it, because it's not things that we can just see.
Right, and you know, today people hide behind a lot of fake names, social media, whatever we want to call them, fake profiles, people with pseudonyms, people with nom de plumes, and things like that. And they tend to do a lot of harm behind these fake profiles. Another thing is that and so therefore they actually mask themselves. It's a mask that they put on, and they do a lot of bad things, and they say a lot of bad things, and they write a lot of bad things, and they hurt people. But yet, how do you trace the person? How do you know who the person actually is? Because the person is disguised.
Well, for me, I don't know if I would be able to trace. I think that will take persons with specialized training in terms of tracing behind from the technological end, who is behind of that. But in terms of the person and the children, I think it's important that parents would have the conversation with their children on how to maneuver the technology in terms of what happens when it comes to bullying. So I think that's one of the first steps that we need to take. We need to educate our children about cyberbullying and what it is, how to recognize it, what to do when it happens to you. Those are some of the things I think from our end as parents and teachers, that some ways we can go about in terms of looking at and dealing with cyberbullying.
Right. Now, Glenika, you are a student at the Fairchilds High School presently. Before that, you attended the Tyrrell Williams Primary School. What has been your experience there at the schools in terms of bullying?
Well, I was not really bullied in primary school because I am a victim of bullying, probably in all forms, verbally, physically, even cyberbullying. I've been bullied in Virtuous High School, and I think that bullying is something that the school cannot stop on their own, because if somebody going to bully, they are going to bully, but there are ways that the school can help to prevent it. And I guess today's topic is cyberbullying. For me, I would say there's 3 ways that the school can help to prevent it. For one, they could start from the ground up. They could start building a community where they reward them for good behavior and not just academics and sport-related skills. They should use the internet in lesson plan 2, bring the peers together as one, and they use them in a positive way. It doesn't even have to be schoolwork related, but show them that there are other things that they could do on the media that is positive, because to me on the media mostly is negative things that trends. And they should also teach them digitalized citizenship.
Right. Okay, Glenika, let me hear from you how you have been bullied.
In which aspect?
In all aspects.
Well, verbally, I've been bullied, started mostly in high school. I would say Form 1. You know, sometimes when we arguing or cursing or whatever as kids, we will bring in each other parents. And at one point, one of the males told me that my mother is a bitch. So I took it really personally, and something like that, even though it's just words, it can lead things to getting physical. And then I've been physically bullied too at school, outside of school, but not to the point where my blood being shed is really severe. And then with the cyberbullying last year summer, about me and my cousin, a past student of Charles E. Mills, we were bullied by somebody unknown on Facebook. They made a fake shade room on Facebook. And I cried and what's not, because when I found out who did it, because we literally found out who did it, I never offended the person. I don't know why people would do such things, knowing that there's certain impacts and it could really hamper the person in some really severe forms.
So it actually made you cry.
Yes, it made me cry.
You really felt hurt.
I felt really hurt. I literally took off my phone, and I took off my phone when that happened, and I zoned out from everybody. There were some of my friends and people that I'm cool with that were messaging me to check up on me, but I just zoned out.
Right, and so therefore people, as she said, they go to Facebook, which is a very well-used social, and most young people have Facebook. Most persons in some way have some form of social media. And because it's online, it means then that everybody can see it.
It's intrusive.
It is intrusive. And sometimes what is done is that sometimes the nasty things that are posted, sometimes even photos, sometimes very unsavory photos posted of people, sometimes even nudes and all of that sort of thing that can really hurt people. Blackmail.
The thing about it when you do such act, even if you do take down whatever you post, the fact that it's already gone out there, it will forever be on somebody else's device regardless. Just like when you post a video. They had a video that was posted by some Form 1 students last year for Virtuous High School, where they may had embarrassed the school. And as the Blackhead was saying, even though they may have taken it down, people have already stolen the video and shared it. So they taking it down from off their platform alone cannot stop the impact, because that is something that is global.
Mm-hmm. So it is already out there, and so that the damage is already done, really, and it's hard to retract it. Now, Tracy, what is being done in schools to stop this sort of cyberbullying? Because bullying is a form of violence.
Yes, it is.
That is what it is. It may not be physical, but people can be violent without putting their hands on you. The name calling, for example, the kind of things that they call you, the derogatory words that they use. As she mentioned, she said the mother is, I don't even want to repeat it. And things like that. Words actually hurt. And once ago we used to hear, sticks and stones can break my bones, but the words can't do me any harm. But words actually harm people. Tracy, so what is being done? Is there a policy, is there a national policy being crafted to deal with bullying and cyberbullying and violence in schools? Seeing that the impact that this can have on the school environment.
Yes, there is policy in terms of dealing with bullying and in extension cyberbullying from the ministry's end, and then within each school also they have their own policy as to how they go about dealing with it. So there is, before this year, I think what would have happened for us is that we concentrated a lot on more of the different forms of bullying as opposed to cyberbullying, because we weren't online as much as now after COVID. So most of our lives would have been placed online, and because of that we have seen that cyberbullying would have increased in terms of within the schools, within the society, and on a large. So What happens in school is that we recommend that you report it when it is that you find out is happening. You can report it to the school counselor, you can report it to a teacher, you can report it to administration, and then the administration and the school deals with it in terms of making sure that they do proper research and investigate as to what is happening, because also, yes, you have to know the facts when dealing with things like this, because sometimes the bully sometimes make complaint before the person being bullied, so you have to know exactly what the situation is before you go, and then you deal with it from the perspective that you give help to both the bully and the person being bullied, the victim, because once ago the measures that were used in terms of curbing bullying really just concentrated on the victim, but the research shows that all persons involved do need help in terms of whatever psychosocial education and coping strategies that is there, because there are different reasons why there will be different reasons why persons bully, and so finding out the reason why persons bully help in terms of how you go about dealing with it. Yes, there are, for the person who is doing the bullying, there is consequences for it. However, with the consequences, we make sure that they are also restorative, because they are children. I know sometimes we like to label, and you may have made a bad choice and been a part of bullying, but then that stays with you for a very long time, and that's not what we are. That's not what we are about. We're really about restoring persons and understanding that yes, you might have done this, but you can also change, and sometimes they just need the coping strategies and the coping mechanism in terms of getting beyond that aspect of it.
So the bully, as well as the person being bullied, both need help, because the bully really has a real problem. And usually, from my reading, most bullies have some form of insecurity.
Yes, yes.
And the bully, because they are trying to mask this insecurity that they actually have. But underneath of it all, they are really cowards.
Yes.
Huh? So they are cowards, and so therefore they have to. Okay, tell me why you agree.
And many of them may become bullied themselves because they were bullied. And my thing is, why bully somebody when you are already a victim of bullying and when you know how it impacts you? I think anyone who bullies is a coward. They are cowards.
The psychology in terms of the bully, what we need to put to keep in mind is that when it is that somebody is bullied, sometimes they feel as though that their power is taken away from them. So in order to regain that power, they sometimes go on in terms of seeking out persons who they feel are lesser than them to go about and bully. So the bully victim sometimes become the bully. So that's just one of the things that we look at in terms of dealing with the person who is being bullied. Also, it might be a case where at home, their home environment might be an aggressive environment. So what it is that they are doing, they're not so much aware that they are bullying, because that's what they see at home. Maybe at home they might be a part of their socialization is that they are name calling, they are aggressive. Maybe it might be in a place where there's a bigger brother taking advantage of a much younger brother. So that's another reason why somebody might bully that you would have to look at. Then there is the the effect where a group bullying, where you're just doing it because somebody else is doing it and you want to be a part of that. And because in your head you're saying, well, I don't want to be bullied, so I'm catching in on this one so as not to be bullied also. So there are really a lot of different reasons why somebody would bully, and that is why we have started looking at that aspect, because we don't want them to become serial bullies, because they can, sometimes you come and you speak to a child about bullying, you go through all the processes, and then they come back again and they are still bullying. So it's, you want to make sure that you look at all angles in terms of dealing with the situation.
Yeah, Tracy, on top of it, on October 10th, was celebrated by the United Nations as World Mental Health Day. And some of these issues that you're mentioning has to do with a person's mental health, their frame of mind. What is it that is actually going on in their mind, their mental health? And as you correctly said, sometimes it's the environment in which they were socialized. Maybe coming out of the home, it's what they see. And so therefore they learn this type of behavior and then model it, which is not really the best behavior for them or for the person who is their victim.
Yes, yes.
And as Glenika said, that the bully is really a coward. And that's just it. The bully is really a coward. And we can all think of persons who in some ways are like bullies, whether they are very loud and for the, just for a little simple thing, they come up in your face and they want to fight and all of that sort of a thing, because they want you to be intimidated by them, or they want to humiliate you in some way. And that is the intention. They want you actually to be afraid of them. Well, if you want people to be afraid of you, then something is wrong with you. Go ahead, Glenika.
To me, in actuality, the persons who bully, they feel threatened by the people that they are bullying. They are targeting them because there are certain potential that they see in them, so they are trying to lower them.
Yes. Like, for example, maybe the student who is very bright.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
they may be a target.
Yes.
And in school, to me too as well.
Yes.
Many of the popular kids are actually bullies because it's an image, it's like their nature, an image that they carry in, a certain persona that they see that the majority favors. And unless like them themselves can do a deep self-check to see that this is wrong, or people that they really look up to can correct them, or teachers or somebody in authority intervene, they'll always continue to go on that path. And maybe until when them themselves get children and their children become victim of the same thing that they was doing.
Just recently, a former employee of Facebook, now turned whistleblower, has been speaking out against the social media network and saying that the Facebook actually encourages hate and bullying and all of that sort of a thing.
I agree.
And so therefore social media actually can teach people to bully. Look at what happens today, Tracy. People are fighting. And once ago, when people are fighting, The thing is to stop the fight. But yet you have people coming around and they're spectators and they take their phones out and they start to film. They start to film and laughing and jeering and hootsing, if you want to say what that is, and then they take the video, and the first thing that they do with that video is that they post it on Facebook or they send it around on WhatsApp. And when you do that, what are you doing really? What are you doing, Glenika?
And even like, it's not even just fighting alone, because big incident may happen, like accident, and somebody might be bleeding. Yes, you might not be a professional person to deal with them, but then rather for us to go and try to assist them while the real professional come, we would rather videotaping them. So ain't even just like on a fighting aspect on a whole, some of this is just becoming a human nature. And yes, I agree that social media do encourage bullying and still try its best to discourage it.
Yes.
The bystander effect, in terms that, you know, sometimes for me, I tell people is that what I say to persons is that there are a number of persons who are involved in bullying. There is one, the bully; two, the victim, that's the person being bullied, and there's also the bystander. And for me, the bystander, there is a lot of weight that goes into that aspect of it, because you sit around and you don't do anything, or you participate also in it. And what the research is showing is that when persons who are around step in, when there is bullying, it helps a lot in terms of curbing the bullying or stopping it in its track. So I often encourage parents to speak to your child about standing up to people, standing up for people, because in standing up for people also means that they are going to in turn stand up for you and don't participate in terms of what it is. Sometimes when you see them send all these things through social media, just we alone sharing it is enough in terms of we are also participating in it. When you like it on Facebook or you like it on Instagram, we are participating
And encouraging.
Encouraging it. But we don't understand what it is until it happens to us. And then we understand what the other person is feeling when it comes to bullying. And I think a lot of when we were younger, because we are now in a really different era. And when we were younger, as you rightfully said, it was a rite of passage almost to be bullied. And they will tell you, well, shake it off. You're going to go out of it. It would stop. But we have seen now that it's not like once ago when we were in school and you had a fight in school, it stayed there. As a matter of fact, you could go home and your parents will never even know that you were in a fight or an argument. But with social media and technology, it's now videotaped and sent, and even not just so much with the fighting, but even your own personal life is being threatened in terms of persons taking it and passing along, whether it's sexual pictures or whether it's a conversation, things like that is being done, especially within the schools. What we see, we have these group chats, oh my, and sometimes you're not even aware of who is in the group chat, and you said something, and mind you, really and truly, it might not be how you read it, might not have been what you intended it to be, and then somebody just screenshot it, and it's passed around back and forth. And as I tell them, it's like when it's out there, it becomes public, and you have no control over what happens with it after that, because it's now in the public domain. And we are no longer just Keon High School and Bastia High School and Sandy Point High School, we are now a global community. So it's one big school. Because whatever happens in one school affects the other school, and it's known even before you in that school. So with technology and that aspect of it, it's really, really hard to deal with, for especially with the young person. Even if me as an adult can't deal with it, imagine a younger person who is not that experienced in terms of having to deal with things like cyberbullying.
Now, we have seen, videos have gone around with quite a number of the school children involved in fights or sometimes actually sexual acts, and they're sending them around, and the damage that that does to the individual. Let's look at the damage, the reputational damage that is done to that young person. Because then that person presents for a job, everybody remembers who that person is, and that sort of a image that they have of the person and the kind of thing that they were doing can really seriously damage that person for life.
It comes back down to what you would have said in terms of the mental health issues that comes beyond it, the anxiety, the stress, the depression. All these are things that are consequences of being bullied. And what it is that the research is showing now, that bullying just stays there as a child. It goes on with you into your adult age and can, alter the quality of life that you have, because it might just be something as small but then you walk with it with your adult life, and then it changes just how you act and your personality and everything.
Now, Glenika, you spoke about how you felt when you were bullied. Now, how have you dealt with it? How did you deal with it? What are some of the things that you did to deal with your feelings, with your emotions?
Well, the way that I cope with being bullied, some of the strategies are healthy, while some are not. Well, for the healthy one, per se, I would have talked to my favorite teacher, Miss Delicia Patrick of Norton Ground. She's also a teacher at Virtuous High School, because she's such an understanding person. Like, we are really close. I may have talked to other family members, my peers, and even the people that bullied me. After a certain time passed, I may well have a one-on-one talk with them. They said may end up and got bullied, and they may have realized how I felt. I also listened to music that would uplift me. I am a fan of Whitney Houston. I'm also a fan of Nicki Minaj. She don't always sing all wild songs. She actually sings a lot of uplifting music. Yeah, music is something that also keeps me calm. I also would have exercised, played game, or just not socialized. And then some of the unhealthy strategies I took was not going to school. I literally missed one semester of school. That really messed me up. I had to do an extra year in school. I still end up in the hospital for depression in 2019, JNF. And I even did marijuana. I did things just to try get me to ease my mind. And I saw other people that I was around who went through the same stuff, and I did exactly what they were doing to try to cope. Even though I know better, I tried to cope that way because I didn't communicate with my parents about it.
Wow, that's a testimony there in itself, and the effects that bullying can have on someone's mental health, and the things that it can drive them actually to do. Even to cope by getting involved in using drugs.
Yes, substance use.
The substance use and abuse.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I And there is even, to add to that, self-harm and suicidal ideation that comes with it, because there is just, you just want to get control. And with bullying on a whole and cyberbullying, it can mess with your self-esteem. It can also bring about what we call intrusive negative thoughts, especially at the adolescent stage, where their self is important and they're just trying to form their identity, and developmentally they are not just equipped as yet to handle it. It really changes them in terms of their mental health, and depression and stress and anxiety that they have to deal with.
And how all of that messes with your functioning, your healthy functioning in school, your academics.
Your academics, your grades drop.
Your grades drop.
You start missing classes. Because you start missing classes, you don't want to go to school. You don't
so
want
much
to,
of what, Glenica?
Yes, you don't want to socialize. And so these are some signs sometimes we ask parents to look out for. All of a sudden, your child used to enjoy doing a particular sport or activity, and you notice that they are making excuses not to go. Then question them, talk to your children. I think we as a culture, we have not really taken the opportunity to have these conversations with our children, and let them know find out from them how their day is going. Don't wait until they are adolescents or older to have it. Have it when they are younger. What was good about your day? What was bad about your day? Have it so that they become comfortable speaking with you, because children tend to hide that they are being bullied because they feel ashamed, and they feel as though they may get in trouble because if they tell their parents that they are being bullied. So you really, as a parent, you really have to be very involved in terms of with your children, and when it comes to the internet and their tablets. Know their password. Search, see what they are looking at, because even if it is not just Facebook, there are other ways and means that bullies tend to get to you. There are these games that they play that they can share content, so they can speak within the games, and so bullying can take place there. So there are apps where they can, the person who is doing the bullying, they can say what they have to say, and the message disappears. And we know, especially for cyberbullying, I try to encourage parents and children to document it, screenshot what is being said, because when it is that you have to report it, at least you have the evidence, which is important to show that this is what was happening over a repeated time. So when you go to make a report or make a complaint about it, you have the evidence to show that this is what is happening.
Yes, and sometimes we have young people talking to people online, people that they don't know. And sometimes you're talking to somebody as though you know that person, but you don't know that person. Mm-hmm. And you don't even know who the person is. The person could be hiding behind some fake profile or something. Mm-hmm. And then you start sharing things with that person.
Yes.
Sharing your personal information, sharing photos, mm-hmm. sharing, your thoughts, mm-hmm. sharing all kinds of things. And then that person now takes it and then uses it against you to mm-hmm. hurt you mm-hmm. or to harm you. Mm-hmm. So maybe parents have to look at, who are my friends, are my children yes. talking yes. to online?
Yes.
And you have cases where you have sexual perverts, mm-hmm. pedophiles, mm-hmm. and so on, who are online and looking to hurt and to harm young people. And so what is being done, Tracy, in the schools? You talk about educating the parents, which is important, but what is being done in the schools to educate the young people in terms of being cyber smart?
Well, I guess for each school there is lessons in terms of how to be good technology citizens and how to use the technology wisely, because yes, there is a good and bad in everything, and sometimes the bad is small, but we tend to fixate on it as opposed to the positive aspect of it, because there are a number of positives. So we try as much as possible to teach responsibility and how to be a responsible online citizen in terms of that aspect. So there is program that is done within schools in terms of mitigating that aspect of it, because we have to teach them the required behavior that they need in terms of navigating it. We often say that they are the digital natives, while we the adults are the immigrants to digital. So they are really beyond us. So in teaching them, I always come back to in terms of teaching the adults also, because bullying to an extent is a learned behavior, and they are just doing what it is that they see us as adults doing. And I often like to, people like to say, when there is things, go to the schools and teach the children, but then yes, we the adults need to understand that. We also need to know, because we also are in a part of their development. So we have to know in order to teach. And we have to practice so that they also understand that this is what to do.
Right. Does the school policy allow for legal intervention? Because sometimes you have the bullying, the violence and all of that, that may now enter into the realm of the criminal. Yes. So does the school allow for legal intervention?
There is, yes, when it is that is on the extreme end in terms of violence and all that aspect of it, then it is reported to the Ministry of Education, which is then turned over to SVU, who deals with the child. So yes, there is that aspect of it. We encourage the parents to further in terms of getting that type of help for their children.
Now, in terms of the responsibility of the teacher, the role and the responsibilities of the teacher in dealing with issues of bullying and school violence. Because one may say, well, look, I'm a teacher, I'm in the classroom, but you have to deal with issues that have to do with discipline, and issues that have to deal with, bullying and all of that sort of a thing, which can adversely affect your classroom. And the students.
Yes, I one good mentor of mine will normally say that we need to change the culture of the classroom. And one of the things that I would put in, because I would think that persons may be thinking it too, is that adults do bully children also. And so sometimes you will find there are cases where teachers can be bullying a child in terms of the actions that they are having. So there is also education for the teacher in terms of what aspect, and let them know is that if a child comes and make a complaint, take it seriously from the get-go. Do not just brush it off. Take it seriously, report it. You can do your own observation to make sure that you also see what is happening, but teachers are asked to make sure that they report cases of bullying.
Interestingly, you said that sometimes the teacher is the bully.
Yes. I know I might get some flag for that, but the reality is, yes, teachers can exhibit bullying behaviors towards
tendencies
towards children. Because if we go back to the definition of what bullying is, it is repeated. It's a repeated act that is done to harm or embarrass or make somebody feel bad. And it's done
Yes.
over a period of time. So yes, that can happen.
That is correct, and you can have adults who are bullying children.
Yes.
It is not just children bullying children.
Yes.
And you can also have children that are bullying adults.
Oh, yes.
And you can also have parents who are bullying their children.
Yes.
And bullying is bullying. It doesn't matter who is doing it, and it is wrong. Now, Glenika, how do you relate with your peers, your friends, in terms of helping them to understand, well, look, bullying is not something that is good. Or if you see a particular behavior, you talk out against it. How do you do that? How do you help those around you? In other words, you're an advocate against bullying. How do you help those around you to not get involved in that type of behavior?
Well, if somebody is going to bully, as I said earlier, they are going to bully. But for me, I would tell them to try and put themselves in somebody who have already been bullied shoe. Before they will go and bully somebody, to do that. Think about it from different perspective. If I see somebody doing wrong in class, oftentimes I do correct them. For some reason though, because of the culture, when you do such, it becomes a big deal. The majority, once you're favored by the majority, which I am not one of the popular kids or anything like that, the class clown, anything like that, they will not tend to agree to what you're saying, whether it's wrong or right. But I think that when you're really a down-to-earth person, or even if not, once you have good understanding, you should know wrong from right, and you should stand up for something. 'Cause if you do not want it to happen to you, you shouldn't want it to happen to others.
Yes. I can just hear many parents say, of course, if somebody hit you, hit them back.
Yes.
Or if somebody bully you, bully them back.
And
And that is what parents actually do. So in other words, the parents is saying, don't let nobody bully you, bully them back. If they hit you, hit them back.
well, sometimes the parents will say such because they don't want their child to go out with a soft person mentality. I have this soft person image. Too wrong don't make a right, yes, but sometimes parents would say that just because they want their child to be brave, to protect themselves, defend themselves.
Yes.
How do you deal with that, Tracy?
Yes,
What do you say to that?
I know. As a parent, it's very hard to have to deal with the cases where you find out that your child is being bullied. And that at the beginning of it, you really want to just go out and protect them in terms of what happens. And that happens all the time. So what it is that we do encourage parents to do is to sit and have a conversation with your child and come up with a plan as to how we are going to deal with it. Because the truth of the fact is, we are not rearing children to be children. We are rearing them to be adults. So we want them to be able to look after themselves, be resilient. And so even though you might have to fight the urge, according to, mind you, the extent of the bullying, you might have to fight the urge to step in for them, but you come up with things that you could do. But you leave it on the table that I might have to come to the school to deal with it. Because sometimes it works, they can, if you give them the skill, they can work it out on their own. But we often tell parents, please just, try to fight the urge where you have to come and, fight off everybody in terms of dealing with the bullying. But I know some cases, and sometimes you try to reach out to parents, or parents try to reach out to parents also, and the reception that they get from other parents isn't one that is pleasant. So they have become aggressive towards each other, and the cycle continues. So yes, we do have that aspect of it. And also, the truth and the matter is, on the other flip end, no parent really want to know that their child is no sane parent, that is, want to know that their child is a bully, and it can hit those parents hard just to find out that their children are bullies also. So we ask them to, just have a conversation again, find out their point of view as to what is happening. It's really important as parents that it's not that we are believing them wholesale what they say, but we are taking the time to listen to their point of view, and then we work from there. And if it is that, you have to come down with, they understand that, you would have exhibited these bullying behavior being a part, so there are consequences at home for being involved in bullying, and that aspect of it.
Society teaches us, Tracy, that to deal with a bully, you have to be a bully. That is what society teaches us. To deal with a bully, you have to be a bully. But the truth of the matter is, to deal with a bully, you don't have to be a bully.
You don't. No.
And what we see as well sometimes is that parents go into the schools and bullying the teachers.
Yes, yes.
And when the child sees that sort of a behavior, it does not engender respect for the teacher. And it really does not engender respect for the parent with that type of behavior. So there must be a way in which we can do things.
Professionally. Professionally.
Professionally. There must be a way that we can do things. Because there are some people, as you say, who feel that they have to bully in order to get their way, to bulldoze their way. But you don't have to.
No, you don't. No, you don't at all. And I try to encourage parents and people on a whole is that it's important not to match the bully and the behavior, because that is exactly what it is that they want. That is what gives them their rise. When it is that you behave like how they are saying or expected you to behave. And so one of the ways that you can cut them down right away is to just don't feed into them and what it is, the energy that they are giving out to you.
Yes, so you don't have to feed into the hate.
No.
And all of that. Because if you feed into the hate, then the cycle actually continues. Okay, now what sort of assistance is really offered to the victim and the bully? I know you touched a little bit on it earlier, Tracy, but could you speak to that again?
Okay, well, in terms of the person who is the victim, the person who is being bullied, there is counseling that is offered at school in terms of dealing with, the fact that you are being bullied.
Yes.
If it is that we can't, if we notice that it's really beyond us as school counselors, then we reach out also to the National Counseling Center in terms of getting them further help in that aspect of it. There is also school-wide awareness in bullying, because that's one of the avenues that we can take. There is also support groups that are done in terms of helping the person who is being bullied. Also for the person who is doing the bullying, there's also counseling in terms of finding out exactly what is happening and how do we mitigate against it in that aspect of it. So whatever is done on one end is done on the other end.
What are some of the healthy ways that someone who is bullied, a child, can deal with their feelings of being unsafe, their feelings of being bullied, their feelings of feeling hurt, intimidated, humiliated, their anger. What are some of the healthy ways in which they can deal with it? Because, as you correctly said before, is that there can be a movement towards self-harm,
Yes.
getting involved in substance abuse, becoming depressed, withdrawal, and all of that. What are some of the healthy ways in which a child can deal with being bullied?
Well, we encourage the child to speak about it. We encourage to bring them to a place where they can accept that, you know, it's not really about me, but it's about the person who is doing the bullying. We encourage them to speak to their parents. We encourage them, if it is that the bullying would have messed with their self-esteem, we encourage them to join groups that are positive and can help them in terms of building back their self-esteem. We also educate the parents on what they can do at home, because a lot of work can be done at home. How to you know, just motivate them daily, exercising, as the young lady would have said, that she started exercising and eating right, and that aspect of it. So those are some of the healthy ways that we encourage them in terms of what it is that they can do in order to mitigate against the consequences of bullying. One of the things that we often say as counselors is that the behavior for us is just the behavior is minor. What we want to look at is the feeling behind the behavior.
Yes.
So what it is that is making the person feel this way, and then that is where we tackle from. If it's that you feel ashamed, if it is that you are feel neglected, those aspects in terms of what it is that we deal with from the counseling end of it.
Mm-hmm. Now, a child might be afraid to report bullying, especially if it's online bullying. How do you help children to understand the importance of them reporting that they are being bullied?
You know, most of that is done through education and done through that aspect of it, because there's only so much we can do. So we give them coping skills and strategies that they can do when it is that they are faced with cyberbullying. For example, as I said before, you turn off the computer. You can turn it off. It's okay to turn it off. Don't respond to them, because in responding to them in your aggressive state, you may also say things that they can turn around on you. So don't respond to them. Document it, whether you have to screenshot it, whatever it is that you have to do, but make sure you report it to your parents. It's very, very important to tell, if not your parents, a responsible adult in terms of what is happening with you. And those are some of the skills that we encourage them in terms of dealing